Good afternoon and welcome to this wonderful interview we're going to do with one of our great masters of our music. We're so honored and privileged to be in the presence of spiritual and musical royalty. He is playing tonight and tomorrow at Blue Note Festival in tribute to the great tenor saxophonist and composer, creative mind Joe Henderson. We're here with the great Bobby Hutcherson. Thank you so much for giving us your time, sir.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask you a few questions, and thank you again for giving us your time about your life. I just wanted to know how you were first exposed to music, and was there music around your house when you were growing up?
Oh, okay. Well, let's see, it started with my older brother went to school with Dexter Gordon. And my brother was a cheerleader at Jeff, and Dexter was in the marching band. And they used to come home to my house after school, and they would play, music and just. Okay, so that kind of started like that, And then my sister started singing.
Okay.
And while she was in school, she had a group with Sonny Clark.
Oh, wow.
And they used to play a lot of concerts around Pasadena. And one of the concerts I remember, Sonny Clark had Oscar Pettiford in the band. And he walked up to me during intermission and said, "Don't you want my autograph?" And I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. And I said, "Sure." He was very strong, demanding type guy. Anyway, then next thing I knew was she was going out with Eric Dolphy.
Yeah.
And Eric Dolphy used to come over the house all the time. Now, this was before I was playing.
Okay.
But she used to always, I knew Eric Dolphy as that was my sister's boyfriend, And, he'd always had his horn, and she was singing, and, and they go out, and they go to jam sessions and stuff, and she was singing. She started singing with Gerald Wilson's big band, and Eric Dolphy was in the band, and, a lot of people, Harold Land. So I used to kind of tag along. And then later on she started singing with Ray Charles.
Okay.
But it started with me as far as I could start walking down the street in Pasadena one day, and you know how record shops used to have the music playing on a loudspeaker outside, and I was walking down the street, and he was playing the Giants of Jazz with Thelonious Monk, Miles, Milt Jackson, and Kenny Clark, and Percy. And I walked in. I was in junior high school, and I went in and got the record and just wore it out. I thought Milt made me feel like I just had just a pocket full of money and made me feel really good. I said, wow, I just wore the record out. And I told a friend of mine, Herbie Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I think I'm going to get a set of vibes. And he says, okay, if you get a set of vibes, he says, you can play in our band. He says, we're playing a lot of school dances. He says, you'll be able to make money and meet girls. And so I said, oh, wow, that sounds good. And so my mom took me over and we started playing. And as soon as I got the vibes, Herbie walks up to me and he says, we're going to play a concert. I said, Herbie, I know nothing about it. Playing, yeah, I'm still, He says, don't worry, it's kind of like a bunch of groups are going to play. And I'll mark each note with a felt pen, which note to hit next. So I said, oh my gosh, well, how many songs? He says, we're going to play around 2 or 3. I said, well, Herbie, that's going to be a lot of marks on the notes. He says, don't worry, we'll practice every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So it came to the time of the concert, and everybody in Pasadena heard I was playing the vibes, and I was playing already.
Mm-hmm.
They had to come to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So the sound manager was there, stage manager, and we're getting ready to go on. And he says, okay, you kids, you're on next. He says, you go out there and percolate. And he says, oh, Bobby, I saw a bunch of stuff all written over your bars, so I took a wet towel and wiped everything off. I said, no, you didn't. He says, oh, yes, I did. So the curtain opened, and there was all the kids sitting out there ready to boo and throw stuff at me, and there was my mom and dad sitting there in front. And I think I hit the first 2 notes.
Uh-huh.
And from then it was complete chaos. And they started laughing and booing and everything. And I was just like in the shock. And I looked down at my mom's face. As my mom looked back up to me, so proud, she says, with the look of, I don't care what you do, whatever you do, you're my son and I love you.
Mm.
And I said, oh, okay, Mom, I'm going to keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of laying down there on the canvas, because I just got Sunday plans, my mom gave me the strength to get up off the canvas, be a good sport about it,
Mm-hmm.
and start learning to play music.
Mm-hmm.
And they were asking me, who's my biggest influence? And I would always say my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Because she gave me the strength to not lie there on the canvas. So next thing I know is my sister started going out with Billy Mitchell, who was with Count Basie. Billy Mitchell and Al Gray left Count Basie and decided to form their own group. Billy came in the house while I had the vibes, and he says, I'm looking for a piano player. I'm getting ready to go to San Francisco and work 2 weeks at the Jazz Workshop opposite Charlie Mingus. And so he hears me and they're playing the vibes, and he walks in and he says, hey, son, how would you like to go to San Francisco? Well, I think I must have been around 17, 18. He says, you're going to have to play chords because you're going to take the place of the piano. He says, can you do it? And I lied, of course, right away, because I had never played 4 melodies before. But I said, oh, yeah, sure, I can do that, yeah. So we came up here, and in the group was Doug Watkins, and Doug Watkins and I got to be really good friends. And we played 2 weeks at the Jazz Workshop. And I remember while I was here, Mingus came up to me and he says, "Shake, kid, you sound pretty good." And I said to him, very humble, thank you, Mr. Mingus. He says, listen, when I tell you you sounded good, you say, yeah, that's right, yeah, okay. I said, yes, sir, yes, sir. I came on out of that one. Next thing I know is the gig was over and the group disbanded. Billy came back to New York, and I was back in Pasadena, and the phone rang, and Billy called and said, how would you like to put the group back together, and we'll open at Birdland opposite Art Blakey for 2 weeks. And I said to my mom, I said, Mom, can I leave school and go to New York? She says, yeah, as long as when you come back, as long as you knock on the door and have a blue suit on. I said, you got it. So we drove across the country in Doug Watkins' black Peugeot, the one he got killed in. And car broke down in Albuquerque. Spent all the money to make it across the country fixing the car. And we ate, what's those crackling skins, honey? It's a little...
Pork rinds?
Pork rinds.
Pork rinds. We ate pork rinds all the way across town, across the country. And we didn't have enough money to come to the Lincoln Tunnel. And the guy, when they opened up the door and the guy smelled the smell coming out the car, he says, here's a letter, and then somebody go on through. Wow, go on. Oh. So I set my vibes up. I'm setting my vibes up at Birdland. And I had always heard about Pee Wee Marquette. And so Pee Wee Marquette it's from those days when nobody's there and I'm setting up and Pee Wee walks in smoking a great big long cigar, you know. And Pee Wee's a little person. And so he walks up and he says, who are you? I said, well, I'm Bobby Hutcherson, and I'm playing with Al Gray and Billy Mitchell. And he says, no, you're not. Pack up. Get on out of here. We don't need you. I said, oh, boy. It's New York. And here's this little cat telling me to get... I said, I could test him if I want. It's Pee Wee Marquette, though. Wait a minute. Let's... Go on, pack up. Get on out of here. We got Lionel Hampton, Milt Jackson. Get on out of here. We don't need you. So, next thing I know comes Pee Wee's introduction of the group. I kept right on setting my instrument. That first night it goes, Pee Wee gets on the microphone and says, ladies and gentlemen, from Jazz Corner of the World, Birdland, 52nd Street and Broadway. It's the Al Gray, Billy Mitchell Sextet with Al Gray, Billy Mitchell, Donald Byrd was sitting there, Doug Watkins, and Bubba Hutchins on vibes. I said, oh God, and everybody died laughing, Bubba Hutchins. And all through the week it was Bubba Hutchins.
Was Tommy Flanagan in that group?
And I remember Tommy Flanagan used to sit right there to my side and wait to hear Bubba, and he would die laughing. I said, oh God, that's Tommy Flanagan, and look, he's laughing at me. Well, on pay night, we'd always go across the street over to the Alvin Hotel and get paid. All the musicians were in the Alvin Hotel. It's a parking lot or something now, maybe they built another building. So next thing is I know is the knock at the door, and Al Gray says, Bobby, go answer the door. I open the door, and a big puff of smoke. I said, oh shit, it's Pee Wee Marquette. Pee Wee looks at me and he says, you got something for me? I said, you must be kidding. I ain't giving you nothing the way you introduced my name. Al Gray says, give him $5. Well, in 1960, $5 for me was a lot of money. That was big bucks. I gave him $5. First night the next week, ladies and gentlemen from the Jazz Corner World, 52nd Broadway, Al Gray, Billy Mitchell, with Donald Byrd and Bobby Hutcherson on vibes. I said, and Al Gray said, see what $5 does for you here in New York? I said, wow, man, how about that, So the group, we went on We played the Apollo Theater, and we went on to Sutherland Lounge opposite the Red Fox. Boy, was that something. I had never seen Red Fox in person. They had made me leave because I would laugh too loud.
Oh, yeah.
I disrupted. I had never seen him. And so next thing it was, the group disbanded after 2 years.
Okay.
And I decided in order to keep going, I was going to drive a taxi. So I started driving a taxi here in New York. And my friend Herbie Lewis came into town working with the jazz dad. So Herbie says, I kept my vibraphone in the trunk of the taxi. He says, come over to my house. I'm going to have jam sessions at my apartment, and you can start to meet musicians. So he says, and Gratian Moncur is going to be there, because Gratian was playing with the jazz thing. So I came over, and we started playing, and we started having a great time playing. And so Gratian says, you know, I got a gig with Jackie McLean coming up. Let me call Jackie and have him come down to one of these jam sessions. Jackie comes down, and we're all in there playing. And Jackie just gave me this great big hug. He says, I got 2 weeks at the Club Coronet in Brooklyn. He said, I just ran into this wonderful drummer named Tony Williams in Boston. He says, I'm going to bring you two with me, and we're going to open this club in Brooklyn, Coronet. And so we started rehearsing, and we only had 4 songs: Frankenstein's Mama, Air Raid, Ghost Town, and Saturday and Sunday. Only 4 songs. And in those days, you had to play 40 minutes on, 20 minutes off, 40 minutes off. So we started like at 9, and we were through around 4 in the morning. He played all, it was unbelievable.
Wow.
And so we said, well, Jackie, how are we going to play? How are we going to play 4 songs through the night? He says, well, we'll just start out with Frankenstein's Mama, Air Raid. And then second set, we'll start out with Ghost Town first. And then end with Frankenstein's Mama, And then we mixed it all up. And we fooled the whole crowd because we were playing all crazy up on the bandstand. And there's this drunk guy sitting at the bar, and he said, to him, and he said, shake it, come on, man. I want to tell you something. I said, yes, sir, what is it? And he says, I like your band. I said, no, sir, why? He says, you'll never repeat yourself. So Jackie calls Alfred Lyons, and he says, Alfred, come down here, you got to hear this.
Okay.
And Alfred comes down and says, Jackie, I've got to record this band. So we go over to Rudy Van Gelder's, and in the first take, Alfred walks up to me and he says, Bobby, would you like to sign a recording contract? I said, boy, am I in the right place at the right time? So right after that happened, Eric Dolphy started coming down to hear the group. And Eric, hi. He says, wow. He says, you're playing music. Yeah. I said, yeah. Well, so Eric says, I want you to play some gigs with me. So I said, okay. And the next thing I know, we started doing everything, then the Out to Lunch album came out, and stuff. Things just started escalating from there. It was, just the thing of just being in the right place at the right time, you know.
Mm-hmm. And the first record you did, which only was released a few years ago, was The Kicker on Blue Note.
Yeah.
That's a great record. That was Grant Green on there too.
Yeah.
Where did you first hear about Grant Green, and what was the choices you made?
Duke told me, he says, I want you to do a recording for the guitars. His name is Grant Green. He says, and he's playing, I forget the name of the club up in Harlem, and anyway, he told me, I want you to go by and see and sing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walked in the club, and as soon as I came through the door, it just bam, it hit me like that. I mean, the music, the vibes of the room, boom, and Grant was just draped over his guitar, just sitting there, just playing, you know. And I said, oh man, the magic is really heavy here. It's like, you know, it's under a spell. You know, you walk in and you were under a spell. And so Duke called me. He says, "What you think?" I said, "Oh boy, he put me under a spell right away." And so we started recording right away.
And how did you also develop your technique of using formats? How were you also developing?
I play it my way. Everybody else does it different. I do it I'm very self-taught. I'm very self-taught. Not really where I went to someplace and said, okay, let me study to figure out how to do. You know, it's just like
self-taught thing.
Yeah, let me put this here, I'll put this, you know. But, you know, I was playing 4 mallets a lot, and then all of a sudden I started playing a lot of 2 mallets, and then now I'm kind of back to, I play a lot more 4 mallets. That's when if I play alone, you know, and stuff. But it's self-taught.
And also, when you were coming up as a young musician, how were you learning the language of jazz? Would you copy from records? Would you?
Yeah, we used to, Herbie and I, we used to go over to a friend of ours' house. His name was Terry Trotter. And we would sit there and listen to records all through the weekend. And then we'd sit there and listen to a lot of musicians and stuff. And then the next thing was we started going to a lot of jam sessions. I mean, jam sessions were really happening in Los Angeles in those days. You know, you could work a gig, and then afterwards you could go to a jam session from 2 to 6 in the morning, and then you'd have breakfast, and then you could go to another jam session going from 7 to 11 or 12 in the afternoon. So, I mean, jams, you know, and there'd be people just waiting to play. You know, just waiting. And these were like the schools. This was like being in school, you know. You know, because you'd meet all the musicians, you know. I mean, you know, like Cannonball used to come out all the time.
Wow.
You know, and you know, you'd be at the jam sessions, and I mean, it was just a lot of people who, you know, you only got to see, you know, in the club playing. You know, you go and see Cannonball playing with Miles, but then afterwards they'd run everybody be out there playing.
Wow.
And you got a chance to sit there and talk to them about ideas and things, you know, things that, secrets that we figured out. How they think of that note? Where's that sound coming from? You know? And they say, okay, well, I'm not playing in that key. You say, oh, you say, look at all these different little keys. Look at these little motifs that you can put against that. You say, oh, because a lot of people just say, well, just play diatonically, or just play all over the place. But the thing is, you got to develop this thing to say, okay, I'm going to play this against this, and by having control of that theory, you show that you know what you're doing against it, and then all of a sudden it's true, and it makes everything really work, because here's two ideas coming together and coming together saying, I'm right because this is right, or I'm right just because I'm part of the 12-tone system. And so Eric Dolphy used to write songs that the scales didn't finish for 2 octaves. Not just one scale in 1 octave, but in the next octave the scale was completely different. And you had your choice of where you were in. And you said, all of a sudden you say, wow, how'd you get that sound? Why is that working? Well, the thing is, sometimes all of a sudden, there's little things to cement these ideas going on. Secret little sounds, secret intervals, not secret, but just like Giant Steps is in the Slowinski book, That's just the thesis of scales, melodic scales and patterns. But that's where Giant Steps is at, and you can see how, when you look at it, you can see what's going on with moving up a half step and now developing that with a minor third or fourth, and and this is doing this is doing this, but the thing is,
coming together.
Yeah, you're just not. Although that can work, but the thing is, it's really nice when you can say, let me do that exact thing again. What'd you do? And if you can't say, well, I don't know, it's just luck. Let me show you what it is here. Let me create that and be able to do it and explain it. And here it is. Again. See how it sounds? See how that sound is created? So the thing is, you got scales in out here on every day. That one there where the sun is shining but not so bright, there's a musical scale out there in the air right now. So there's, if you know the scales of that, you can play the music that's in that scale and be able to I can make you feel that picture that's right. A rainy day, there's a scale. The scale, if you can take and get the scale of the rain, then it can make the music right away make you feel like it's raining. And so these are things that you want to, as you.
And also, by the mid-60s, you had, I know you told me before, you had your first son by 60s, right? By that time period, you had your first child.
Yeah.
How did you balance being a jazz musician out there playing with also bringing up a young family? How did you find that?
Well, the first part, I was gone for a while, because for the first time first time that I went out on the road, I went on the road straight for a year without stopping.
Wow. What year was that?
1960. And that was really hard. But that was with my first wife, and my son from my first wife. His name is Barry. He plays the drums now. I wound up bringing them to New York, and they went through the whole thing of me driving the taxi, working at the Grand Union Market,
wow,
stocking the shelves. It was rough. And then it was a little hard for my first wife from Pasadena. She decided she wanted to move back to Pasadena and be close to her parents. And my son went with her. But they were here for a while. But it was rough. And I always used just to say, I wish is that I had gotten closer to him as he was a little tiny little guy, I always felt that at first the music was first.
Mm-hmm.
I always used to think, okay, hey, music is number one. It took me a long time to understand, no, it's not. The people your family, God, the people who you love, the most important things in your life. Music is only a reflection. It's only a reflection of the image. It's just like Lou Donaldson said, it ain't till you've had the blues till you can play the blues.
So, you had joined Blue Note, been with them for a number of years. What kind of artistic freedom did they give you, and how important was the support they gave you to Alfred and Francis?
Alfred told me, he says, I could record anytime I want to. Just let him know, call him, tell him I have the music ready, and we'll go straight into the studio. Mm-hmm. And so it got to where I was ready to record all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was able to do so many recordings. And he said, whatever you want. You do what you want to do. He says, you're doing some different stuff, so I want you to go ahead. Mm-hmm. And record. We'll just go straight into the studio. Mm-hmm. And he gave me carte blanche. He told me, you go for it. Mm-hmm. Whatever you want to do. Because he says, I can't tell you what to do. It's best that you do what
you want to do.
Yeah, it's best that you let your mind be free and go, which was really good.
Well, we thank you so much, Mr. Hutcherson, for giving us your time, you and your lovely wife, Rosemary.
Thank you.
And we're looking so forward to hearing you play tonight and tomorrow. And it's just a pleasure and indeed a great blessing to still have you with us playing this music on such a high level.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nice to be safe.
Yes, sir.